What's up, y'all? I've got some crazy buffs for Marshadow in this hack, but as a little disclaimer, I want to tell anybody who's just clicked on this video because you saw Marshadow in the thumbnail and it's a cool looking Pokemon to two things. All right, first off, check out the description down below. There is a link to the Google Sheet where you can check out all of the Pokemon buffs and changes in this hack. And the second disclaimer is that you should keep in mind that none of these buffs and changes are balanced for competitive, I was going to say in-game use, competitive use whatsoever. Marshadow in vanilla is already broken in 66 singles, and this version would be even more broken because it's faster and has literally his abilities function like download and parental bond if you're new here. So yes, this would be ridiculous, totally unreasonable. However, in the context of a ROM hack, a difficulty hack where every single Pokemon has access to priority moves. Ghost in Fighting used to resist Bug 4 times. Now it only resists it 0 times. I was going to say only 2 times. No, Ghost Fighting and Fairy don't resist Bug anymore. So Marshadow, with its newfound absolute glass cannon status, I mean, Spidef is actually pretty respectable still, which fits because it's like this ghostly looking guy. I think Spidef can fit better, at least better than physical defense. This little dude should not be taking hits. But yeah, absolutely crumbles all of the common priority moves in the hack. Not to mention 140 base speed, while incredible, is not as great as you might think. At least in terms of in-game, because you're not guaranteed max IVs, you're not guaranteed a plus speed nature, you're not guaranteed a Marshadow if you're doing a Nuzlocke in the first place. But if you get a Marshadow as one of your encounters for like the wormholes or whatever, island scans, whatever it is, 140 base speed with a neutral speed nature and 15 speed IVs, which is like I'd say average. You're only hitting 363 speed, which might sound like like I'm underselling it, but for a Pokemon that's this frail, I mean, my point is it's not as like ridiculously fast as you might think, just because you're not guaranteed those IVs. So, hypothetically speaking, a 110 base speed Pokemon will outspeed Marshadow in this case, I believe. Oh, this is modest, that's why. But this is adamant. Yeah, 350. Okay, so you won't, but 115 will. Oh my god, you barely do. Okay, 140 is pretty damn fast. But my point, yeah, 116 or 116 and higher Pokemon will outspeed up 15 ID neutral speed nature Marshadow, and that's not great. I'm just trying to make it sound like it's not as broken as it is, because obviously 125 base offenses with literal download and literal parental bond in a vacuum are ridiculously broken. And even in the hacks context, you have parting shot on every single Pokemon. You can just use a bulky Pokemon with infinite use eject button and then get your Marshadow on the field for free and kill whatever's in front of you. Probably one of the stronger Pokemon in the hack, right, in terms of like raw offensive output with the Ghost Fighting dual stab. However, in terms of raw damage output, there are all kinds of Pokemon that completely trump Marshadow. Not to say that he's weak, because 125 offenses with parental bond, 25% boost, and instinct, expertise and instinct, all right? So instinct functions like download. So that means you switch in, you get +1 attack or special attack, and that's really cool because it's a mixed attacker now. Technician is no more. I probably should have mentioned this earlier because I know some people are gonna be like, "Where's my Technician Marshadow for my Shadow Sneak?" Let me not be a dickhead, but on a Pokemon this fast, you don't need priority moves. It's just not that good of an option. All right, every Pokemon in this hack has 4 move slot syndrome. Pretty badly, and that is helped out by the fact that you have access to the trainer documents and all of these crazy TMs and tutor moves, so you can swap around your moves, but a lot of your level up moves are also good that you're going to want to keep. So that's a pretty big deal. Technician would only boost priority moves. It would boost a couple of coverage moves, which would be weak. Like Instinct is better, then you can use higher base power moves. Like Technician is objectively worse than both of his abilities for Marshadow, because move pool doesn't work that well with Technician, bar priority moves, which would be cool if it was like a bulky or slow Pokemon like Dusknoir, for example. Also gets priority Mach Punch, Vacuum Wave, Spook, and Shadow Sneak, and he's also Ghost Fighting, and he also has really strong, and he's really bulky, and has awesome abilities and great moves like Strength Sap, and is really tanky, and is a pseudo legendary. So you should go check out that buff and change on the Google Sheet alongside all the others. By the way, if you listen this far into the video and you don't know this by now, make sure you check out that Google Sheet not only for the Pokemon buffs and changes, but also for the move buffs and changes, because there are 130 plus custom new ones, and 600 plus have been buffed or changed, and I organized them all into a lot of different categories for your viewing convenience. But yeah, Marshadow, very straightforward buffs when you actually think about it. As for the logic, so basically my point was, with Technician, all it would have to abuse would be priority moves, First Impression, which is also a priority move, and that's 60 base power, always crits. Ominous Wind, which drops attack and special attack by 1, but on a frail-ass Pokemon like this, it's not really going to want to use Technician on Ominous Wind. Covet, which you have Play Rough, which is stronger. And on a Glass Cannon like this, you want the damage. You don't want the lower base power recoil free option. You want the recoil move. When 90 with Technician Covet versus 110 with Play Rough, like, you'd rather just take the 20% recoil damage at that point on a Pokemon like Marshadow. knockoff would be technician boosted technically. Like it's not that great. Its technician move pool is not great. The moves are all weak. The strongest technician moves it would have would be Pummel, which is fighting type bullet seed, and Force Waves, which is a special move, 35 base power, hits twice, so that would be 105 base power overall. But like Instinct Aura Sphere is stronger. You know, Expertise Aura Sphere is stronger. So 25% boost off 90 base power is stronger than 105 flat. And of course, Expertise also has that effect of hitting twice, meaning power up punch, pretty freaking broken. Like this guy's broken, all right? It's broken. The only thing that will keep this in check in-game is priority moves on the opponent's team. And of course, the fact that you're not guaranteed those speed IVs. So a lot of things can outspeed it. Getting it on the field is relatively difficult, although you do have immunities and you do have parting shot and eject button, those other stuff to get your Pokemon on the field easier. So if you're smart about it, this thing is like free. But if you're if you're a more casual player, it'll be harder to use. Not to mention you have to switch in at the right time to get the right type of boost. Although honestly, full-blown mix would be really fun with like max speed, max attack, with like trying to get the special attack boost of Instinct. That'd be pretty cool. Again, you have customizability, you have access to infinite EV training items and all these TMs and tutor moves to swap around your moves, so you can run physical for some fights and special for the others, depending on which one is more optimal. Also, depending on your IVs and your nature, you'll be running physical or special more often. But the logic for why I gave Marshadow these abilities, I think both of them fit its vibe very well. If you read the Pokedex entries, it talks about it copies the capabilities, and it masters, it slips into the shadow of a martial arts master, and it learned ultimate techniques. So Expertise, it's an expert. It's literally this Expertise has like the exact same logic as Technician, and then Instinct is like also a very general ability. I named both of those abilities generally on purpose so I can give them to a lot of Pokemon. I think it's really cool for Marshadow. It's a late game encounter. It's pretty broken. If you're playing it smartly and you're not just staying in on a first impression, that will one-shot you. Of course, you do have to switch out on moves like those. You can't protect on first impression anymore either, so you're literally just forced out. You cannot stay in unless you're gonna live it, but you're probably not gonna. For most Pokemon that I would be giving it to at that point in the game on the opponent's team, it's probably gonna one-shot you. So yeah, gotta be wary of priority moves, which are very common. Gotta be wary of being outsped, which will happen more than you'd think, especially if you're not guaranteed those natures and IVs. And otherwise, it's just a really strong Pokemon. There are stronger Pokemon. There are faster Pokemon that are stronger than this, but it's still really strong and really fun to use, and really just a blast of a Pokemon. Really cool. Using Marshadow in general would be cool. I didn't even address the Z move yet. Honestly, healing 50% on a Pokemon this frail isn't even that crazy. I just think it's a cool idea because it's called Soul Stealing 7-star Strike. So yeah, 200 base power. That does not work with Expertise, by the way. I looked it up. Z moves don't work with Parental Bond, so that won't function properly. But Instinct plus Soul Stealing 7-star Strike is pretty crazy. I'm probably going to give Acerola a Marshadow just because I think it fits her vibe. But, she's like a little girl and this is like a little kid guy. I don't know. I just think it's cute. Also because there's no other trainer that fits it. And I think it'll be a fun little challenge to give her a Marshadow. And again, you can just click a priority move on it. I'll probably give it a Sash, but you can still like pivot around and deal with it. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave the video off there. It's got all types of powerful high base power stabs, but in general, it's just unga bunga click button like Pokemon. You have to be smart about it getting on the field, but there are other glass cannons like this that are stronger or faster or have different coverage moves. Although Marshadow's coverage is all you could ever ask for. You don't even need it. You already have Ghost Fighting Dual Stab. There are Pokemon that take those hits though. Bayonet, normal Ghost, the Goat, that will wall Marshadow's stabs, and there's a bunch of other Pokemon that can take the stab moves as well. Believe it or not. And of course, priority. Like your Pokemon, like you have first impression as a TM, just teach it and you'll be fine. It'll die. Like it's not a big deal. Sucker Punch as well as a TM, and then of course every Pokemon starts with priority moves in most cases. So yeah, in like current Gen Ubers though, this thing would be absurd. I mean, it's crazy. And then as for Sweltering Sun, it's not balanced for competitive play whatsoever. If I ever do make a shutdown server, it's going to be for fun. It will not be competitive. It's impossible for it to be competitive. Every Pokemon has 2 sets of good abilities and crazy ass moves. Like there's no universe in which that's competitive. Draft League will be fun though, so stay tuned for that. I'll eventually get that running when I get the showdown server running, which is not a priority right now. If you're curious, it's not a priority. I'll be getting work done on that like probably after the hack is out. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I'll be back for the last event Pokemon of Gen 7 coming up. Peace.